Who should the Leafs take at number one, and are they bound to make the same big mistake in back-to-back summers?
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morassutti. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The biggest stage in world soccer is here. Let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started now. You can also bet on the NBA Finals and, of course, the NHL Finals and the NHL Draft, Dave. And I have two wagers on FanDuel. I'm curious what you think is more likely. So currently on FanDuel, Marner, minus 220 to win the Conn Smythe, leader in the clubhouse there. Gavin McKenna, the odds have now shifted after the draft combine. He is now virtually a lock, according to the betting markets, at minus 2,500 to go number one overall. 25-1 to go number one overall. After, like, literally, you could get the field at plus 870. So my question to you is, Dave, Mitch Marner at minus 220 going to Conn Smythe, or the field at plus 870, where would you put your money on?
I'm putting my money on Marner.
Do you think you
even with the odds, I just don't think like the Leafs have sent out as many signals that would suggest that they're taking Gavin McKenna.
Yeah.
Right. Best player available. That was literally the first thing John Chaika had said. We're going to take the best player available. They're not going to go and take a position of need. Right now, if they believe that
you could argue that he may have the highest ceiling, but he may not be the best player in the draft. Like, it's possible.
It's possible, but just based on what I've been hearing from all the reports, all the scouts and stuff like that, scout reports, he is ranked the highest guy, right? So the thing is, when you're using the first overall pick, this is a pick you're expecting to be with your franchise for the next, 5 to 10 years. And so that's where my belief is that it's leaning towards McKenna. And like Marner, how is that not a sure bet right now? Because unless Vegas loses, that's the only that's the only way Marner doesn't get the Conn Smythe is if Vegas loses the Cup final, which obviously can still happen if the Hurricanes win tonight, get back home ice advantage. But like to me, I just think McKenna has put himself in a really good position. Considering all the stuff that's happened through him throughout the years, the year didn't have the greatest start to his college season, but then found it. He had the off ice issues where he got charged. Yeah. But obviously those were dropped after some investigating happened on the actual incident itself.
Yeah,
and so. It just feels like it's like all signs are pointing that way. Now we could definitely see, and look, we've been down this road before where Shane Wright was viewed as the top guy for the majority of the time, and then come the draft, it's Slafkovsky,
right?
And everyone's like, and that proved to be the right decision.
Well, and it was Slafkovsky who had that unbelievable World Championships where it kind of put him at the top of the charts for the Montreal Canadiens. And, Ivar Stenberg, it's a very similar kind of thing where he had a great World Championships for Team Sweden. Did it do enough to put him at the top of the table here for the Toronto Maple Leafs? We know that, this is a team that wants to play a certain way moving forward, and maybe that aligns a little bit with Gavin McKenna in a way. Maybe it aligns with more so in Ivar Stenberg. Or maybe, again, like they talk about wanting to improve the blue line. Well, Chase Reed is a guy who really helped his stock at the draft combine from everything that I've read. The other reason why I bring this up is because there was an article in The Athletic that came out by Corey Pronman, who was at the NHL Draft Combine, and he spoke with scouts and NHL executives and asked about Gavin McKenna specifically, and asked about, what he thought, who was the number one guy, right? What do they think of this draft overall? And there were some obvious, guys on both sides of the aisle, some people who pump McKenna tires, and most acknowledge that he's probably the most talented player in the draft and has the highest ceiling. But is he the guy that can win you a championship? So the one quote that sticks out to me here, I'm going to read it again. This is from an anonymous NHL scouting director who said, quote, "McKenna is the most talented player in the draft, but is he the most likely guy to win a championship?" One scouting director asked. "That's what we're going to be talking about in meetings. He's an excellent player," said a veteran scout. "In the middle of the season, I'm sure you'll see highlight reel plays and some 4 or 5 point nights. But when things get tough, if that's the guy you're leaning on the playoffs, our guys will be so excited to play against him. I would take Stenberg, Reed, and Malhotra over him." And someone else said he's going to score a ton in the NHL. He's special with the puck and on the power play. An executive said, "My concern is he's like Artemi Panarin. He'll get his accolades, but he'll also be on 3 or 4 teams and never really make real noise in the playoffs." Another one says, "He's got to be one of the most unusual top Canadian prospects I've seen. You can't find him some nights, and he can be so frustrating, but his talent is freakish. You cannot really try. He can really go out there and not try and still end up with 3 points." So there are, some people coming out saying that maybe he is, again, the most talented player, but does he have what it takes to win in the playoffs, right? And, with is the size there? Is his tenacity with the puck there? Like we see the guys who, kind of turn out to be champions later on in life, who turn out to be those dogs. Does he have that dog in him? I guess is the question that everyone seems to be asking. They believe that Ivar Stenberg has that because he goes to the middle of the ice. He goes to
he's good along the boards and stuff like
right?
that.
Good along the boards, good in the middle of the ice, in front of the net. He plays a simple, direct game. Chase Reed, obviously a defenseman, plays a two-way game. And multiple, execs and scouts have also acknowledged that there are, 6, 7, maybe as many as 9 players, one executive said, who could go number 1 this year, that have a realistic expectation that some of those guys could go number 1. I mean, someone had said as much as the Smiths kid could go number 1. Keaton Verhoff could go number 1. Obviously, we talked about a number of other players, Stenberg, Chase Reed, Caleb Malhotra, Carson Carousel. But yeah, apparently Verhoff and Smith's also in that same little group, that it wouldn't shock them if they were to go number 1 in the draft. So for it to be that big of a discrepancy in betting, to me is very odd. Plus 870 odds on the field seems like a pretty sound sprinkle wager for me, just considering how wide open it seems to be. Like, maybe it's not in terms of the Maple Leafs are too scared not to take McKenna because what he could be, but it's not as though McKenna is leaps and bounds better than any of these other prospects at the very least. So, I don't think it would take a lot for the Leafs to go in a different direction. I'll say that.
Yeah. I was reading, who was I reading this morning? I think it was Scott Wheeler. I think he did a mock draft. I think it came out this morning. And so he basically said people around the league are now more convinced it's going to be McKenna for the Leafs.
Which,
they really like Chase Reed, but after they got a chance to visit McKenna, and then he'll have his post-combine visit in Toronto, it's certainly leaning in that direction.
Well, I'll say this too. Here's the other thing. If there's that many players that executives around the league believe could go number 1, and there's not that much separation between McKenna, Stenberg, Reed, Malhotra, Verhoff, Carols, like these players.
Mm-hmm.
It's also probably unlikely that they're going to get a massive haul to move down in the draft at that too. So it also makes it more likely that we're going to see McKenna. If he is picked by Toronto, it'll be at number 1. I don't think we're going to get a trade down scenario at this point. And again, as was acknowledged by Chaika yesterday, there hasn't been an enticing offer yet. I don't know if there's going to be, because it seems as though, again, like the talent level is high, deeper into the draft than usual. It's not like Gavin's high and above the rest, or that there's like a top 2 or a top 3. There's a good 5, 6, 7 players that are in that kind of mix, and it might be it's probably going to be unlikely that we see any of these top 5, 6 teams shoot up the draft board, give up an enormous package to go and get whoever they want at number 1, considering that it's a similar talent level that you could get at 4, 5, or 6.
Yeah, I think that's the big part of it too. Like, yeah, you can, like, everyone's mocking these trades that the Leafs could do with the first overall pick. It's like, okay, well, that's maybe what the Leafs would potentially like to do. Doesn't necessarily the other teams want to do that.
Right.
It takes two to tango in this situation. And so you look at, like, even you look at the last year's draft, right? It was clear, 2024. Macklin Celebrini, he's the guy at number 1. It's not like there was like a bunch of players of the Celebrini caliber going into that draft that made it easy to say, maybe they should consider a Tija Ginla at number 1, right?
Right.
This isn't like, even I remember in 2016 when there was no doubt it was going to be Auston Matthews. And yeah, some people tried to say Line should be in consideration. It's like, there's no way that's happening.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, for that, like, you're looking at like center versus winger. Like there's also that here. If Gavin McKenna was a center, I don't think there would be much of a conversation.
No, I agree on that.
Number 1. I think it's because he's a winger and at least have an abundance of them. I think that's partly where it's like, do you really want to waste the number 1 pick on another skilled winger? Like,
that's why people are putting Chase Reed in that conversation, because they could use a Chase Reed more than a Gavin McKenna. It's just, are you gonna is Chase Reed, is his position enough to say he is more worthy of being the first overall pick in that scenario?
Yeah, I mean, it depends how they develop. The thing is, like, it's 5 years down the line, if Gavin McKenna is not the best player in the draft, which is likely. I mean,
it can happen, very much so.
You go and you look at pretty well every draft in the last 20 years. I'd love to see how many number 1 picks are actually turn out to be the best player. I'd imagine some of them, obviously, like the Crosbys and the McDavids and of the worlds, the Celebrinis, the Matthews, those guys, top players in their draft. But there's also other, situations where guys go number 1, and then all of a sudden, 3-4 years later, another player emerges. Like Rasmus Dahlin, good pick, right? Rasmus Dahlin, like everyone would argue, was a great pick for the Buffalo Sabres. For a while, it was like, is he going to develop into something? It's like, no, he's developed into a Norris caliber defenseman. But you look who went a few picks later. No, sorry, Nico Hischier. I'm talking about Nico Hischier. Was the number 1 overall pick for Jersey. It's like, okay, yeah, it turned out well. They got him, right? He's a top 6 centerman. He's, like a 1B. He's a Selke candidate. Great player. But Cale Makar went 4th overall, right? A few picks later. And Elias Pettersson went 5th. And for many years, it seemed like Pettersson may have been the correct pick there. But so that's the one thing too, that, having number 1, there's a lot of pressure on having the first overall pick, because you got to try and get it right. And, pressure is a privilege, as everyone likes to say in Toronto. But, I don't think it's as much of a slam dunk, no doubter that McKenna is going to be the best player in the draft. Does he have the chance to be? Is his ceiling the highest? I think that could be true. But what is that, does that translate into playoff success? I think that's kind of what we need to figure out. And what the Leafs need to figure out, I guess, not so much us, but the Maple Leafs need to figure out is how much can it translate when it matters. I guess we'll have to see. But yeah, lots of draft content coming at you guys over the next few weeks. We're probably going to get Scott Wheeler on the show. Actually, been talking to him. Going to get Scott Wheeler on the show over the next couple of weeks, and many other draft analysts and scouts. So that's still to come. All right, we'll take a break and we'll get away from this conversation. There's a conversation that continues to happen in my group chats, in my stop and chats on the street with fans, with family members, and it's really starting to annoy me. I want to get into that discussion. I want to talk about what the hell's going on in Edmonton as well, and another coaching option off the board for Toronto. That's all next in the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy Fruity Rainbow. If you've got a sweet tooth like I do, you know how tough it is to find that perfect treat without all the sugar. That's why the Fruity Rainbow 5 Hour Energy shot brings that nostalgic flavor back in a whole new way. Fruity Rainbow 5 Hour Energy shots treat your taste buds with an explosion of fruity flavor with a tasty caffeine kick. It's a quick, easy way to satisfy that sweet craving while keeping things simple and on the go. It's a zero sugar treat that's sweet tooth approved. I like how convenient it is. Just a small portable shot I can grab whenever I need a little pick-me-up. It's become my go-to when I want something sweet without going overboard. Get candy flavor chaos with Fruity Rainbow 5 Hour Energy shots, available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, with brand new episodes of the Locked On Leafs podcast, available wherever you find your podcasts and also on YouTube as well. Hit subscribe, hit hype. See that hype button you can do? That really helps actually with the algorithm. So give us a little hype if you've enjoyed the video so far.
Yeah.
If you're a daily listener of the Locked On Leafs podcast, and if you are a daily listener, don't forget, check out the Everydayer Club for ad-free episodes and access to a group chat with myself, Dave, and other listeners of the show. Tap the link in the show notes or go to lockedonleafs.supercast.com. So I don't know about you, Dave, but I'm continually being asked about, did the Leafs make the wrong move last summer? Did the Leafs get rid of the wrong core 4 member? And with the success that Mitch Marner has had, that conversation just continues to grow louder. Why couldn't Mitch do it here? Is the problem more Toronto than it is Mitch Marner? And that seems to be the conclusion that a lot of people are getting to. And it feels as though now that anger is not being placed upon the team as a whole. Feels like a lot of the anger is now being thrown and shade being thrown at Auston Matthews. Like he was the problem all along. And all of a sudden now everyone thinks, Leafs got rid of the wrong guy. Should have got rid of Auston Matthews. Marner's a playoff performer after all. Matthews, they haven't won anything since he's been around. He's a bad captain, blah, blah, blah. These are the conversations that I'm having with people right now. I don't know if you're having the same discussions, if you're hearing similar things, but it feels as though the Maple Leafs, or at least Leafs Nation, is continuing to do what they do best, and that's run star players out of the city because they're pretty good at it. And it seems like this is what's going on right now with Auston Matthews.
Yeah, and I feel like the reports, like the constant talking about his future hasn't helped in this matter either, because again, people are getting back to what happened with Mitch Marner. Is Marner committed to staying here and all this and that? Like, I know LeBron on Overdrive said like it's not 100% that Auston Matthews comes back, and I'm like, nothing that I've heard from John Chaika leads me to believe that they're concerned about Auston Matthews. And to me, I will rather, and I hate this, I don't want to throw shade at Pierre LeBrun. I don't think John Chaika is coming out here and throwing, he's lying about Auston Matthews. And when he says he sees a happy captain, he sees a guy that wants to win in Toronto, that wants to be in Toronto. And nothing that Auston Matthews said at that end of year presser leads me to believe that that's changed, because the only way that commitment changes is if the Leafs go into the Vancouver Canucks stage where they're like, okay, we're not competing.
Rebuild. It's a
rebuild.
Yeah.
Right? That's the only way that
changes. Our rebuild.
That's the only way this changes. And so look, Vegas is a perfect example of what teams like Toronto does wrong and what other teams like Toronto have done wrong, where they put all this pressure on a few players to get the job done. And when it doesn't happen, it's easy to move off from those players because the fan base isn't behind those players anymore, because they're led to be the problem, right? Mitch Marner was the problem. He's now on to Vegas. Everyone's like, look how stupid Toronto is for letting him go. Buffalo, Jack Eichel's a cancer. He wants to have his own surgery. Let him go and have it in Vegas. Yeah. He went and won a cup in Vegas, and he's on a good chance to win another one.
Yeah.
You can name so many players, and Vegas has done this. This is where Vegas sits on a kind of an island on its own, where they don't care, and they'll just do it, and they'll just laugh at other teams for saying, okay, thank you for a Mitch Marner. Yeah. Thank you for a Jack Eichel, and we'll go on and we'll go win a cup. Right. Yeah. And like you listen to the Vegas GM and
Kelly
McCrimmon, thank you. I was going to say George McPhee, but technically he's the president the GM. And he says, like, it's because Mitch is on a team where he doesn't have to do everything. He can just go and be Mitch Marner. So if you want to know why Auston Matthews probably isn't performing at his best, because the last few years, he hasn't been Auston Matthews. He's been asked to be Auston Matthews plus the Selke two-way matchup center. That's not what he was meant to be, but they turned him into that because that's what they needed him to be.
Right.
Like, if we're being honest here, this is where we're going down with Auston Matthews. I don't care that Auston Matthews can kill penalties and block shots. I care that Auston Matthews can score 50 goals. And when you're looking at what wins playoff games right now, it's finding guys that could score goals, because goals are hard to come by.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, on this cup final, apparently there's a lot of scoring in this cup final. I hear you. Crazy. I hear you, man. Like, and Mitch Marner's finding a way to score those goals. You know, like but that's kind of where I feel as though it's so funny. Like the other day, someone said to me, "Oh, Marner's doing pretty well in Vegas. Looks like he, you know, when he doesn't have to consistently pass the puck to Austin, looks like he can actually do some things." And I'm like, what? Why is this being a talking point?
You know, Mitch Marner is like, he has the most slot passes in these cup finals. He has more than, like, he's third. You know who's got 1 and 2? Vegas and Carolina. Well, like, like, out of all players, he leads, because they were doing like this whole, like, this how many total.
Well, yeah, they've made it the deepest. That would make sense that they have the 1 and 2, but exactly, like, Marner's still doing the same stuff he was doing in Toronto. He's just doing it in the playoffs. Like, this is the same Mitch Marner that was tearing it up, you know, with 100-point season, 99-point seasons with the Maple Leafs, you know, throughout pretty much the whole last 5 years he was with Toronto. He was like a near 100-point Selke candidate year after year in the regular season. Sure, it faded in the playoffs. For what reason? I don't know. And it's showing up here for Vegas. And I understand that that's annoying to Leaf fans. But how that, you know, reflects poorly on Auston Matthews, I don't know. And here's the thing. Everyone now is like, oh, trade Matthews. I'm like, why? So he can go off, win a cup next year, and win a Conn Smythe for another team? Like, did you not learn the lesson with Marner? Like, it's just I don't understand the conversation, or I don't understand why people are so quick trigger to blame Auston Matthews for the reason why Marner wasn't able to play up to this level. He must have been holding him back because it was like kicking and screaming, you know, get the ball to the Italians, Get the puck to Auston Matthews. Like, is that what people thought was the game plan all these years, and why Marner couldn't have success? He wasn't thinking properly. I don't know what the hell's going on through people's minds, but that literally was one thing that was said to me by a fan the other day, and then it followed up with traded the wrong guy. Should have traded Matthews. They should trade him at the draft. And it's just like, oh my goodness. First of all, I don't think it's going to happen because he is, as of now, the only untouchable on the roster. So it's not going to happen. He's your captain. And I think that he's due for a bounce back. I really do think he's due for a bounce back. And if they do end up drafting Gavin McKenna, I think a big reason for making him the pick over a guy like Stenberg or over a guy like Chase Reed or Malhotra or Verhoff is because McKenna probably has the best ability to bring back Auston Matthews, right? The real Auston Matthews too. So I would at least give Matthews one more year with McKenna, prove that, he can get back to being this 50, 60 goal guy that he's been the last few years. Hopefully he can stay healthy. And then next summer, whether or not there's an extension on the table or not, I guess we'll see. But I would be, I would definitely slow the roll on the trade Matthews talk this summer. I don't think it's going to happen. And I don't think the Leafs should do that either. And if you think that you feel crummy about Marner going off and having success, what if Matthews goes off and has success next year? Then how are you going to feel? It's back-to-back years where the Leafs let their best players go and they go off. I mean, how often was that a talking point prior to this season in Buffalo, where it was like everyone who left Buffalo had success, and they were the punching bag of the league for that, right? Whether it was Jack Eichel or Sam Reinhart or Ryan O'Reilly, who left Buffalo, went on, won a cup and a Conn Smythe the following year. Like, it just continually happened in Buffalo, where whenever they shipped guys off or guys left, they found success. And, they're the punching bag for the league for that for years. Toronto doesn't want to take that mantle. Like, we don't want to be sending guys off and have them go off and have all this success. Figure it out here in Toronto. That's what they got to do. Figure it out.
Then it just becomes that reputation and then do you really want Toronto's reputation to be star players come here to get abused so they can go win somewhere else? Like, is that really the reputation? And Toronto doesn't want that reputation.
Did you see Jackie Redmond's rant, by the way? On
I had that bookmarked and I totally forgot to go back and watch it. And I'm sure you probably did. I'm probably 100% behind Jackie on this.
Yeah, I mean, she laid into Marner pretty good. I don't know, like, we could play it if you want. We can take a break, come back and play it. She laid into Marner pretty good. Okay, let's do that. We'll come back. We'll play that Jackie Redmond audio from our pals over at Leafs Morning Take. And we got some NHL news and notes. Game 4 of the Cup final tonight. Dylan Larkin revealed his list of teams that he'd like to go to, and the Oilers about to make an awful mistake. We'll get to that next. Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The biggest stage in world soccer is here, and every match feels like it has a potential for a memorable moment. One goal could completely change the energy of a game, shift momentum, and alter the outcome in an instant. That's what makes the tournament soccer so exciting, from the opening whistle to the final kick. And now FanDuel is giving fans another reason to stay locked into every match with every goal pays. Bet on a match and get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. More goals means more bonus bets. All you have to do is turn on your token. We've all seen those matches where it's scoreless for what it feels like forever, and then one goal completely flips the game. Suddenly everyone's pressing, the crowd comes alive, and the final 20 minutes becomes must-watch television. And now you can benefit from each goal scored in those games. From the opening whistle to the final kick, let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com to get started now. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DiStefano, Dave Morassutti with you as we are each and every day here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, available wherever you find a podcast and also on YouTube. Did you get the video?
I got it.
All right, let's play it here. So this is Jackie Redmond on Leafs Morning Take with Nick Alberga, and man, she laid into Mitch Marner pretty good.
I sort of want Vegas to win just so Mitch Marner will end up elaborating on what he meant by those dark times.
Why only if you win? Like that, like, listen, I'm genuinely, truly stoked for Mitch Marner because I do think that it mentally was very tough for him. I think there's a multitude of reasons why. Clearly, he needed a change of scenery. It's working for him. I'm happy when people are happy. Like that is, I truly believe that. However, I'll fill you guys in on my dark times if we win the cup. Oh, but if you lose, then you don't have the audacity to go after your former fan base that supported you making $11 million when you'd never won a playoff series, and you got to play with Auston Matthews for 99.9% of your time there because that's what the both of you wanted. So you were given that, and you were benched for 1 40-second shift one time, and the media lost their and fans lost their collective shit over it, and you were never benched again. Like, this guy got everything that he ever wanted. I do understand people showing up at your house, threatening your family, not cool. But those instances do not represent the entirety of Leafs fans. And I think it's kind of BS that not just Marner, the media, fans, online hockey people, like, pushing this narrative that fans are bad. How is that good for business to just shit on an entire fan base all the time that has done nothing but support the organization? And by the way, indirectly support the rest of the league because it's the most profitable market in the NHL, or most profitable franchise in the NHL. Going off on a bit of a soapbox here, and it's not to go at Marner.
I think we're good there.
I'm tired of this.
Because then she just continues to go on the, conversation about the fan base and all that, which I get partially true. Yeah, it's partially true, and it's kind of, what we were talking about. So she's kind of laying into us a little bit on that, which is totally fine and fair, and she can. And I think that there's obviously some truth to it. I think that the players deserve, a lot of the blame as well. Don't get me wrong. Like, of course they need to play a lot better. There's a lot of pressure on them to play better. But man, she's not wrong. Like when it comes to him, when he came out and said, if we win the cup, we'll talk about the dark times a little more. Like, why not do it just in general? Should do it in general, Mitch. Yeah. You should definitely do it in general, not just if you win. I mean, especially when you put that out there. Maybe saving those stories for the book one day that will become a bestseller in Toronto for obvious reasons. But not telling it in general is kind of a cop out. But it seems like they're pretty close to winning, so sounds like we will end up getting to hear it. But it was a good little rant by Jackie.
My best part, and I remember when he said that part, I'm just like typical, because this is a guy who at one point in time said that players in Toronto were looked upon kind of like gods here.
Yep. So
I guess that was just...
Which one is it, Mitch? Which one is it?
Exactly. So the flip-flopping was nice on that. No, she's not wrong. Like, also, if you got something to say like that, just go come out and say it.
Yeah.
We could take it. We're going to hear about it anyways. Might as well just get it over with.
Yep. Absolutely. Game 4 tonight. Do you think Mitch Marner will be shooting pucks at a man named Frederick Anderson or a man named Brandon Bussey? Sounds like there's some potential goalie controversy.
Yeah, it's surprising, but you know what? Like 2 games in
not that surprising to me.
It's not that surprising because there's 2 games in this playoffs where he hasn't really played well. I know he didn't practice the day before, and he was in the neck closest to the Kings bench, which would suggest that he's closer to the being the guy. I do think you probably see Brandon Bussey in this game. I think you do it tonight. Like, you don't do it in an elimination game. Right?
Yeah, you got to win tonight. Like, you got to win.
Yeah,
and if you don't think Freddie can get it done for you, I mean, Bussy came, stood on his head, got them to overtime in that game in game 4 or game 3. So I think that they go Bussy, and I'm not all that surprised. I never thought there was a long leash on Freddie. I think all it really was going to take was back-to-back poor games, and it's what we saw. And now the controversy starts. So we'll see who ends up in the starters crease. My vote is also going to be Brandon Bussy.
The Bussy bus.
The Bussy bus. Bigger news. Okay, we'll start here. Peter Laviolette no longer a option for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He is now the new head coach of the LA Kings. So you can strike Laviolette off the Maple Leafs coaching list. You could probably also strike Mike Babcock off the Maple Leafs coaching list. Don't think he'll be coming back to Toronto, but it does sound like Mike Babcock is nearing a deal with the Edmonton Oilers. What is going on? Why are we reading headlines like this in 2026, Dave?
It's because Bruce Cassidy's not allowed to go to Edmonton.
So you go to Babcock? What are we doing?
This is so funny.
So there's two things to me that is completely wrong with this. A, Mike Babcock has not had much success as a coach in the last decade. I think I saw it in the last 10 years that he's been a coach in the NHL. He's won 2 playoff rounds. He's won fewer playoff rounds as a coach in the NHL.
Well, you may need to go a little further than 10 years because he never won in Toronto a playoff round.
Well, I know, but he was only here for 5 years.
Well, so his last 10 years
last 10 years coaching, combined Toronto and Detroit. Detroit has made the playoffs since 14. It's his last couple of years didn't make the playoffs, and then obviously Toronto didn't make the playoffs. So there's just a not a good track record of success for Babcock. Yes, they made the playoffs when he was here, but they never won a round while he was here. But yeah, there's not a he won those cups, went to back-to-back cups in the late 2000s, but a lot of that was left over from
the Scotty
Bowman era, and then the team that was built there.
Right, you had Nick Lidstrom as your number 1 defenseman. You had Zetterberg. You had Datsuk.
And that was all there for him. He had a team. He just, credit to him. It's not that he was a bad coach. He was a good coach, but it's not as though he got a lot out of a little.
Thing. Exactly.
He had a lot, and he was able to bring them to back-to-back cups, won a Stanley Cup with them. So he's got that pedigree. He 2010, 2014 was the head coach of Team Canada, won back-to-back golds with them, sure. But again, a situation where he had the best players and, the top teams and was able to just kind of let them do their thing. And sure, in Edmonton, you've got Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl, 2 of the best players on the planet. You can let them do their thing and hopefully it works out. But boy, oh boy, the PR nightmare that this is going to be if this actually happens is, oh God, I don't know why they want to do this to themselves. Because not only does Babcock have, his character concerns and issues, himself, but the fact that Stan Bowman is hiring him just brings on a whole other bleep storm to the Edmonton Oilers. I can't fathom that Bowman is even thinking about this.
And it's also the NHLPA. So this is what Elliot Friedman had to say, right? We know he resigned from Columbus because he decided to invade the players' privacies and asked to look at their phones, and actually did. Apparently, for that reason, it is believed the NHLPA objected to the possibility for the hire once information became available to them. So I believe in the NHLPA is not exactly on board with this, which totally get it. Obviously, also the NHL would have to sign off on it. So it's just I understand that the Oilers probably, and Friedman said, like, the Oilers didn't like, the players were not on board with Knobloch's kind of nonchalant, very laid back style. They want somebody who is more of a, let's just say it, a hard ass.
So you're going to
go for Patrick Waugh then.
Other end of the spectrum.
Go after Patrick Waugh. Why is Mike Babcock? Why do you think that that's going to be Mike Babcock? Yeah, he is he's a very demanding coach, but he's also a coach that pits players against each other and has asked players to do things that make them very uncomfortable.
You want to know my theory? This is a tinfoil hat type theory. You want to know it?
Let's go.
I don't think they actually have interest in Mike Babcock. I think they want the league to think they have interest in Mike Babcock to a point where they pretty much somehow allow them to have conversations with Bruce Cassidy to avoid Babcock coming to Edmonton and having that be a problem. You think there's any juice to that?
Well, here the thing is, I would if he didn't meet with the owner in Edmonton.
Hey man, they're playing the part well. They're fully committed.
They're committed to the bit. They're committed to the bit.
Fully committed. They got to make it look legit, right?
Yeah. I mean, hey, you know what? It would be kind of funny if that does happen, because then Mike could be like, "See, told you."
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, for Connor McDavid to be on board with this, because like the leadership group of the team is apparently on board with it too. Like, man, whoo. Evan Bouchard, good luck to you, sir. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think Bouch gets a little bit he's not as horrible defensively as some people make it seem. The underlying numbers aren't nearly as bad as so he's not Morgan Riley or Tyson Barrie. No. I'll say that. He's not Riley or Barrie. He's got some two-way ability to him. But anyway, I can't fathom the fact that Mike Babcock might be back coaching in the NHL. I thought that was long gone and not going to be an option. I didn't think he wanted to come back. Like, that came out a couple of weeks ago or a month ago that he was happy retired and had no plans on coming back. And all of a sudden, chance to coach the Oilers, chance to coach McDavid. And, I guess things have changed in the last month for him. We'll see. We'll see where that goes. So the Oilers, Leafs, both still trying to find new head coaches. The fact that Babcock is being thrown around at this point. Babcock and Patrick Waugh, two names I did not think we were going to hear this summer to be head coaches in the Canadian market. But here we are, 2026. It's a wild year. Wild year. All right, that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. Let's thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at D_Morassutti, and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.